Right. Hey, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, and this is the weekly meeting of K8s SIG Docs. I'm Zach, and let's meet other folks. So Ray, I remember last week you saying you wanted to introduce, I think, Eric?
Yeah, I see him on here. We met over at an SF Kubernetes meetup. He runs the meetup for SF and I think Seattle as well.
Nice.
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome, Eric.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So where are you based out of?
I'm based out of Seattle. I live in SeaTac, fairly close to the airport. And I'm currently working at NetApp. We're in a few different hats doing some community stuff with the meetups in a few different cities, and then also working on the documentation for the NetApp Kubernetes service. So I wanted to find out more about SIG Docs. Myself, there's another coworker of mine. We work together on a lot of docs, and I thought, oh, maybe we could throw some cycles at this or get involved. I'm pretty sure it was on a TGI K8s a couple weeks ago. They just mentioned that SIG Docs was looking for more folks. So I was like, all right, this is probably something we could help with, or at least find out about.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right. Updates and reminders. Taylor Dolezal is our PR Wrangler this week, aka Only Dole. Taylor, they think might be his first PR wrangling shift ever, so be gentle. Next week's PR Wrangler is Jared Bati. Jared, we will not be Jared's first time PR wrangling, but be gentle anyway. As always, approvers, make sure you know when you're scheduled. It is so much easier to switch a schedule around in advance rather than like during the week of. Okay, agenda, release 1.18 update. I've not heard from Vineet or Savita this week. The last that I looked, the dev-1.18 branch looked like it was in good shape. I think there's a merge PR to merge master into the dev branch that's open, but it was sort of concerning because it was only one commit. So I've got to follow up on that. Let's see. Action item. Zach will follow up on merge commit. All right. Does somebody actually, while we move on, does somebody mind looking at the dev branch on the repo, like finding the official release PR? I don't remember the number off the top of my head, and seeing whether it's okay. Thank you, Jim. And just like make sure it's building correctly right now, like passing CI and all that. While we do that, let's move on to the Doxy template. Gearbox let us know that the blog and the partner pages are up for testing. And there is a link in the agenda, but I'm gonna copy that and paste it into Zoom chat as well. So right now, there are 3 sections up and available on the site, the docs, the blog, and the partners pages. So if you go to any other page, things may look wonky, and that's as it should be because they haven't been worked on yet. But if you have feedback about docs, the blog, or the partners page, like put it in Slack. There's a thread running within the past 24 hours about feedback for those particular pages. So if you see anything that is weird or unexpected, that's the place to give feedback, and I will pass it back.
Where will I find that thread, sorry?
It's in Slack within the last 24 hours.
Okay, I'll look.
Cheers. And Gearbox tell me that they're aiming to have the conversion complete within the next 3 to 4 weeks, which is exciting. Oh, that reminds me, Celeste, given that we're adding a tab, we should probably let them know
That's a
about
really
that
great
PR.
segue. And I was
Mm.
going to actually bring it up at the end of this meeting because I didn't add it to the agenda. There's a PR open. This came off of a Twitter conversation with Chris and somebody Chris thinks is important, who I do not know personally and whose name I forget.
Tim Sinclair.
About raising the visibility of the training programs and training partners in the Kubernetes community, and lower the course fee, but we aren't going to do that. That's out of our control. So the best solution is probably to add a new tab to the top nav, which the PR linked goes through and does as per kind of a behind the scenes discussion with Chris, who's kind of the big boss of a lot of things. However, it's a pretty high visibility change. And I would encourage everybody in this room to take a look at that and give feedback, because for all intents and purposes, it's ready to merge at this point. But take a look.
Thank you for the Zoom link. And yes, I think this is an excellent idea, adding that training tab to the top nav. You boosted it last week, and it's good to get visibility on it again this week. So if you have any feedback about that, about either the appearance or the implementation, Celeste's PR 19214 is the place to do that. And thank you, Celeste, for adding that and getting on that so powerfully. All right. Training tab, diagrams. Given all of the discussion around best practices for adding architectural diagrams to the docs, I wonder, so I think what we would benefit from at this point is an issue describing what we need to add to the docs to summarize the discussion so far, and to summarize in conversation that we're going to adopt Istio's standards for diagrams, because they're very clear and very well made, and use the set of architectural icons in the community repository. Did I think to add that? Golly, I sure didn't. Let me get, I know I've got these open in tabs somewhere. And that's what's going on my tombstone. It's open in a tab somewhere. Okay, here it is. Let's see. Open an issue describing changes, what to add to docs.
So is the idea of funding? Sorry.
No, you go for it.
As I say, is the idea of funding a vendor to supply some sort of process or procedure, is that pretty much off the table?
Yes. Well, it's not, if somebody wants to pick it up, if somebody, if you know a really good graphic designer, I mean, there's still work to be done that we can talk about, but I think at this point, the first step is adding these guidelines really clearly, because if you remember way back when we started this conversation towards the end of last year, first of this year, the conversation was, we don't even know what to tell someone yet. So let's tell someone something before we ask them to do something for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Really where I'm coming from is the kind of standard canned architectural diagrams for Kubernetes, those octagons that are blue with the different pictures inside of them, don't do the best job at conveying what they're trying to convey. You know, I'm big into diagrams and visually learning and trying to draw up certain concepts. And I've tried to use those same architectural images, but they all just look like blue squares at the end of the day, if that makes sense. And so I didn't know if this is where the buck stopped or if there's continuing discussion around maybe improving that and making it a little bit more descriptive of what those icons mean and do.
I think that sounds excellent. I think that sounds excellent, and it's a great iteration from a starting point. And I guess what I'm saying now is let's provide the starting point from which to make those iterations. And I agree, those diagrams, they're really not accessibility friendly, and they don't scale well at different levels of Zoom. Celeste, you look like you have thoughts about that. And because you're very, very good at UX design, I wonder if you might share those thoughts.
So I'm kind of catching up on the Istio discussion because I did not look through these guidelines. This is my first time seeing them today. But I agree. I think this is like kind of exactly what we need, but adapted for Kubernetes. Because I find that architecture diagrams are also maps, and maps always have a legend. And it's the legend that makes the map useful, not the picture. So fundamentally, yes, on board. I've also kind of contributed my thoughts around like to the proposal we were going to have for a graphic designer, which is you're not going to get a good result with what we were proposing anyways, because it's too ambiguous for somebody who has no background in Kubernetes whatsoever. So this is a good starting point, and then I think we need to think about how to actually get architecture diagrams out of adding these guidelines, if that makes sense. So there's still
absolutely
a push to action, I guess.
Need someone to drive it.
Okay. I think that's probably a logical choice. I think it fits my skill set, and you and I can talk about this in our one-on-one.
Very good. Okay, let's move on to PRs for review. Any PRs that are particularly thorny or obtuse or especially awesome? Just off the top of my head, the PR for manually rotating CA certificates, it's really cool. It was good to see the community response around that. Okay. Sorry, just looking through what we have to discuss. So automation discussion, whose edition is that?
That's my submission. Sorry, I didn't put my name on there.
It's all good. It's like a mini game inside the meeting. So Jim, are you okay